see your mom. All right, well, thanks everyone. As we kind of get settled in, I'll just warm up a little bit. Because with professional athletes, they stretch, so they get all the tension out before the big game. I'm similar, except for I just have to get all the self-consciousness out. Just let it all go. There we go. Get it all out. Okay. So thanks everyone for coming. This is the Mark Williamson comedy special. So yeah, it's been fun to be back. I haven't done this in about 2 years, so I'm excited to try this again. Feel free to snack and get whatever food you need. I brought for all my wonderful friends and supporters here, I brought espresso and sugar cookies, so definitely dig in. As for all my enemies here, I brought espresso and sugar cookies for your children. So as I said, I haven't done this in about 2 years because the last comedy thing I did was right after my graduation. And it's been a big change since then. I've been in the real world. I was in academia for about 20 years, so I'm finally out now and still going through some withdrawals. Trying to learn how it is to not be addicted to academia. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty normal. I mean, every once in a while I do walk by an open textbook and I just get parched. But I do have a support group that helps me with that, because really the first way to get through things is to admit you have a problem. So I go to them and I say, "Hello, my name is Mark Williamson, and I'm an academic." Sorry, let me try that again. "Hello, my name is Dr. Mark Williamson, and I'm an academic." So we're doing that, having fun. I haven't relapsed in a while. Once I, did stay up all night studying for the MCAT, and I'm not even that kind of doctor. But, I got that done. So I'm in the real world doing adult things, trying to be a responsible adult, eating things like grapefruit. That's a thing adults eat. Not just grapefruit energy drinks. Reading the newspaper like a responsible, well-informed adult, and not just reading the comics in the newspaper. So some people ask me, when you do comedy, how do you come up with your material? That's a pretty common thing. And for me, I haven't found that that's the problem. The problem for me isn't coming up with jokes. It is whittling them down. Because there's all these strange things I find funny, and what normal people find funny. And very narrow overlap. So I really have to get rid of jokes, especially let go of jokes I'm really personally attached to that aren't funny to other people. I just have to put them down. Just go out behind the woodshed and put it out of its misery. "No, Pa, it's my joke. I'll do it." But I'm doing pretty good here. Been about 2 years working a real job now, and it's been pretty good. Though when I first started my job, I'm a statistician. I had a really absent supervisor who wasn't very good at communicating, so I really had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. So I just went out and bought a Dilbert book called Thriving on Vague Objectives, and that was my introduction manual. Because really, my position was like, well, there's a lot of things I could be doing, but I'm not sure which one I should do, so I just had to go hard in no particular direction to get things done. So with that. So yeah, I'm a statistician for a cancer research project. So I do math and stats, stuff like that. I also do my own research, including, as you would expect for a cancer research project. I do a lot of cancer research. And boy, that's a little eye-opening, kind of facing down your mortality, because, there's some cancers that I'm not too worried about, like lung cancer or skin cancer, because as long as I don't smoke too much, or tan too much, or smoke while tanning too much, it's probably not going to get me. But there's some of them, like colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, bladder cancer, man, if I don't die of a heart attack or from my enemy's children. I'm going to die of one of those. And they're all like what I call like the messy cancers. They're all the cancers of this region. I go to research conferences. What do you study? Oh, I study cancers of this region. You can tell a cancer is like unpleasant when like the screening for it is almost worse than the cancer itself. It's like, well, I'm 55. I could get a colonoscopy and a prostate exam. Or I could just die of cancer of this region. So as I said, I'm what's called a statistician. So I do statistics. There's also another closely related job that's called a data scientist. That's sort of similar. I'm not a data scientist, I'm a statistician. And the difference between a statistician and a data scientist is a data scientist is a statistician who's playing hard to get. Because like every scientist works with data. It's like such a vague title. And I'm a more hard scientist background. So I'm used to like job titles and scientists like having what they study right in their name. Like biologists. They study biology. Pretty obvious. Physicists study physics. Pharmacologists study witch doctoring. No, just joking. Pharmacologists, especially if there's any pharmacologists out there, like it's a real profession. You're professionals, and I know what sort of power pharmacologists have over me. I don't want to be in the prescription line to get my refill, and pharmacologists in the back with this important professional coat on, be like, oh, derive my entire profession, will you? Well, guess what? Let's see, what's this prescription you have? Oh, you have antipsychotics. Let's just switch that out with psychotics. Why do you even have that medication? So yeah, I really enjoy my position. I get to do a lot of cool things. The only real problem now is my location. So I'm in the medical school in this sort of weird part of the medical school. I'm in an open concept cubicle, but then there's like 3 other departments mashed in there and no one else is visible. So when people wander into it, the first person and only person they see is me, and so they ask me all sorts of questions, like students, where's this, where's that, FedEx, whose office is this, and I'm a nice guy, so I try to help them, but it gets kind of annoying. I feel like I really should get like a plaque right in front of my office that has like a picture of me drinking a cup of coffee while reaching backwards and writing an equation that has, do I look like a secretary on it? And then underneath that, Dr. Mark Williamson, administrative assistant. But all in all, I really enjoy my job. It could be a lot harder. So, because really, like, I don't have a terribly hard job. I'm not a lumberjack. I'm not a brain surgeon. Again, I'm not that kind of doctor. But so that really helps me keep things in perspective when I go home and it turns out my wife has spent like $50 on baby's first ballerina lessons or something, and it's easy to get like sort of into the mindset of like, why are you wasting my hard-earned money? But I don't make hard-earned money. I make soft-earned money. I sit in an air-conditioned room with a cup of coffee, moving numbers from one side of the screen to another while nodding importantly. Like, oh yeah, those are some good numbers there. So that helps keep me humble. So the next time I come home and my wife has spent so much money on, toddler's first industrial military complex play kit, I'd be like, that's okay, it's okay. Just soft-earned money. I'll go back to the office and sit around like a boneless fish for another 2 hours and make it all back. Yeah, so, but, again, work, in the end of the day, is to help support my family, because I want to spend most of my time with my family if I can, and it's great because my wife and I, we work really well together. We're very complementary. So, for example, of how we're complementary, we work together, we were able to essentially make up for each of our weaknesses. Like, I'm strong in some areas, she's weak in other areas. She's strong in some areas, I'm weak in other areas, and so we can work together with our kids. And that's good because it's good because men and women are different. And now, I feel like I should have had a trench coat on and looked around furtively saying men and women are different, but there it is. One way men and women are different is hormone levels. For men, if men's hormones were a person, they'd just be leaning behind a building, smoking a cigarette, just smooth. Because men's hormones don't change very much. That was the joke. Anyways. Sometimes I'm doing my job up here, you sometimes have to do your job. On the other hand, for women's hormones, if they were a person, it would be a little bit more like, what? Hormones, what are you doing? I'm going hard in no particular direction. So it's good that my wife and I can work together because we have 2 children now, a toddler and a baby, and pretty soon we're going to be outnumbered. And then when you're outnumbered with kids, you have to go from handling children to having to juggle them. And juggling toddlers is like juggling chainsaws. Except for chainsaws might be slightly less destructive. I feel like juggling toddlers is like the pinnacle of like juggling skills. You're like the aspiring jugglist, goes from like balls to like knives to chainsaws, and they're like, all right, I'm ready for the final level. What is it? All right, the final level is to juggle toddlers. Toddlers, huh? What if we lit these chainsaws on fire instead? How about that? So, but I love my kids. They're really great. My daughter Felicity is getting to the age, she's about 8 months, where she's really a lot more active. She's almost crawling. She'll sit up like this on the floor and like be very active. But she's also young enough that she's still spitting up. So she'll be up like this and then spit up and then decide to play with it. And we call this her painting sessions. And it's disgusting. But not as disgusting as how much money I make when I put a canvas under her, let her paint, frame it, and sell it to a modern art museum. But I really enjoyed spending time with Felicity. I realized, though, I can't really read to her anymore because she gets way too into it. I was reading poetry to her the other night, and then she decided to get up at 1 in the morning and recite it back to us. And then, like, her little onesie, she, like, rolls over and, like, all right, here it goes. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Like, Felicity is 1. There's going to be something else raging if you don't go back to sleep. I can't even read like the Bible to her anymore because she gets way too into the Psalms. It'll be like 3 in the morning and she'll be like, my God, why have you forsaken me? Like, Felicity, we fed you 5 minutes ago. No one's forsaken you. But it's funny because like before I had kids, I thought that would be the worst part of it, like the yelling, the screaming, the crying. But it turns out that that's not the worst part. The worst part is the silence. And now you get your newborn child to bed like after hours, like, oh, she's finally asleep. It's been 5 seconds. Oh no, she's dead. Oh, she's dead. Oh no. A ball python got her. She fell in quicksand. Just dead. Every time. I mean, toddlers aren't much better because they'll wander off and then it'll get quiet. And they're like, oh no, what did they get into? Because they always get into the most destructive thing you could get into in that amount of time. Like, David, how did you get the surplus hammers down and our 10-year supply of light bulbs and get them all into the dishwasher? You trip over your pants in the morning. How did you get so dexterous? But for the most part, I do have a lot of fun with my son David. He's 2 now. We'll try to do a lot of stuff together. Like I have a punching bag down the basement. I'll work out with it, and I made a little punching bag for him to try. Like, this is how you do it, David. Try it out. And so he walks over to it. But instead of punching it, he like reaches over to the shelf behind, pulls out a plastic rake, and just goes crazy. I'm like, oh! Like, you don't mess around. Like, would not want to run into you in a dark playground. So, but he's getting to the age where he's really interested in a lot of things like tractors and construction vehicles and like trucks. He loves trucks, which is great because then his grandpa drives trucks, so they can get a toy truck and relate with that. And it makes me feel a little left out, especially when I was a molecular biologist, because I couldn't exactly take a toy version of my work home and get interested in it. Like, David, I got you a toy PCR machine. It's a beige box. I got you a sequencer. It's also a beige box. I got you one more thing. It's a gel imaging platform. I'll give you 3 guesses what color and shape it is. But there is something he has gotten into recently, which is dinosaurs, that I can relate with because I like dinosaurs too, so we can really bond over that. It's really great when your kids are into things like that you're excited about too, so you can invest in it. Like, I went to the library the other day, went to the children's section, loaded up my arms with books, went over to the librarian, yes, my son the other day just got into dinosaurs, so I thought I should get some books for him, for him to read, of course. You're not fooling anyone, sir. You were here last month for dinosaur books. So. Another thing my son really likes is helping out around the house, tools when I'm trying to fix things. So I'll have him come with me, learn how to do things, fixing the sink, things like that. Even outside, the other day I changed our van's oil, and so he was really interested in that. And that's good, because eventually I do want him to learn how to change oil, because everyone should be able to change your own oil at one time or the other. Though I totally get why people take their cars to the mechanics for that kind of thing, because half the problem with trying to fix something on a car is finding where it is, and the other half, which I as a parent can relate to, is being hunched in the fetal position, crying while trying to get the bolt off with no leverage. So, especially I feel some of those nuts and bolts on the cars are unnaturally tight, and I blame the mechanics. I'm pretty sure they went to Asgard and were like, hey Thor, I know you're really busy with your hammer, but could we borrow your ratchet wrench set? We have a whole line of customers that we feel are, quite frankly, not worthy. So, all right. So, another thing I do with my family, especially my kids, they love doing dance parties, so we'll have dance parties, and one of the things I did in my last comedy thing was, I like to teach my kids how to dance, but not just the dance moves that are popular now, but the dance moves that will be popular in the future, so that they're ready for it. So one of the ones that I showed last time was, it's gonna be huge in 2035, is the stand mixer, which is like this. Oh yeah, gotta switch it up. But there's new attachments for different types of songs. There's the dough hook. Oh, yeah. There's also the meat grinder attachment, which goes you know what? I'm just gonna let you use your imagination. So, but I don't let my kids dance too crazily. You're gonna kind of keep it a little bit within wraps. When we first moved into an apartment, they had the previous people left up one of those signs from Hobby Lobby, dance like nobody's watching, and I just tore it down because that's a bad advice. And I put up my own instead for my kids, which is dance like your judgmental grandmother is watching. You want to dance, but not too much, not too crazy. Okay, Grandma? Great. So, anyways, so when I'm not spending time with my children, I have a lot of different hobbies. One of them is writing. I'm trying to do writing more. In fact, I started trying to write more when I was a grad student, and I was thinking okay, how do I get into the habit of a writer? What other habits do writers do? It's well, writers smoke and drink a lot. But at that time I was in a grad student, so I was in a no smoking, no drinking, building, and I was poor, so I was like, that's not going to work. So instead, I went out to the gas station, got some candy cigarettes, and then just filled up a glass full of apple juice. And then you put a couple ice cubes in there. And I was like, all right, that's close enough. Actually, that whole part, last bit about the ice cubes and stuff, that was a joke. Everyone knows I like my apple juice neat. But all that preparation didn't really help, because all I seem to write is just horse jokes. Because there's like so many phrases about horses, like hold your horses, don't put the cart before the horse. You can just mix and match them endlessly and they're just gold. Like, you can flog a horse to death, but you can't make it drink. Don't flog a gift horse in the mouth. If you're rather prideful and you mess up but you want to get started again, you can just tell yourself, well, I guess it's time to just get back up on my high horse. The best one is this. Close only counts in hand shoes and horse grenades. Actually, the last one is a little too far. I lost a lot of good friends to horse grenades. This darn dirty horse wars! Yeah, the Winnies still keep me up at night. You don't want to know what kind of manure we had to get through. When I got home, I put my hand shoes up on the shelf and I promised myself I would never pick them up again. Anyways, moving on. Mixing things up is fun, but there are other things that you really shouldn't mix up. There's certain words it's really important not to mix up. So, in fact, I might even create the Mark Williamson Institute for not mixing up words. Here are a couple words you shouldn't mix up. The first pair is neurotic and erotic. Don't mix those up. For example, I had a 2-hour progress report with my supervisor, and I am feeling very erotic. Don't mix those up. The other pair is simulate and stimulate. I went down to the aerospace building to try out the flight simulator. Was not a flight simulator. Should have read the fine print. So anyways, for many of you probably already know this, but for the last couple of years, I've been struggling with problems with headaches. Having headaches that will come, won't go away, medicine doesn't really work. So, I went through several iterations of trying to deal with those. First of all, I went to the doctors and tried to get different medication. And boy, man, some of those medications have crazy side effects. First of all, it turns out a lot of medications that are prescribed for headaches are often not for headaches. They're normally for epilepsy or depression, but they might help with headaches. So I looked at the label, and it was side effects may include nausea, vomiting, and headaches. It's well, that's great. How do I know if it just didn't work at all, or it worked great, but it gave me a headache as a side effect? There are way crazier side effects too. There was one I was trying for a little bit, where one of the side effects was, I kid you not, it may turn your blood to acid. I was oh man, that's serious. That sounds like someone made up to so you take them seriously. There's a conference of pharmacists, and they're we're all pharmacists. Yes, we're pharmacists, and we're very important. Yes, we have real jobs. And we have this new batch of pharmaceuticals. We need to make up side effects so people will take us seriously. Great. Okay. What about this next drug? Well, what about nausea, vomiting, and headaches? No. We did that for the last three. Those think we're just making things up. We need something new. You intern, what do you think? Well, what about abdominal cramping? It's all right, but it's just not punchy enough. Okay. It'll dissolve your bowels. A little too far. I like what you're doing with that. Let's just back it up a little bit. Turn your blood to acid. Great. Ship it. So So the medications didn't really work, and that's okay, because like when it comes to like taking medications, I try to be as sort of like minimalist as I can. I only want to take medications unless I have to, absolutely have to, and not otherwise. Though the one exception would have to be NyQuil. Man, like it's almost exciting when you get like sick, you get a runny throat, nose, and you're like, you can go home at the end of the night, like open up the medicine cabinet, and be like, I'm drinking half of you, and just having NyQuil and just passing out. It's amazing. Though like I do make very certain to only take NyQuil when I'm legitimately sick, because I can see, oh yeah, this could turn into a really bad habit. Just every evening have like a margarita glass full of NyQuil, sidling up to a bar in tuxedo. What are you having? NyQuil, shaken, not stirred. What's your name, by the way? Williamson. Dr. Williamson. So anyways, medication didn't really work with my headaches. So I tried other things, like another big thing was trying to reduce stress, because stress can cause headaches. But it was really difficult, because it's sort of like an inception thing. You're like, okay, try not to stress out so I don't get headaches. But then also, try not to stress out about not stressing out so I don't get headaches. It was like, it's like that phrase, like, don't think about a pink elephant. And then what do you immediately think about? How stressed out that pink elephant is right now. Just So I tried that a little bit. Another thing I tried was exercise, trying to just be healthier, things like that. So I tried different exercises. One thing I didn't try was this thing called hot yoga. I don't know if anyone's... So like yoga has its own problems, but then hot yoga apparently it's yoga, but then like they raise the temperature to like 98 degrees. I'm like, I don't need that. Like I'm a large guy, I sweat easily. I go up a flight of stairs and I'm sweating. No, let me correct that. I look at a flight of stairs and I'm sweating. Like I don't need that. Especially because for anyone else doing yoga, it would just be terrible for them too, because think of any like yoga pose you want, it would just be sweaty in front of it for me. Like the sweaty lotus, the sweaty whatever, it would just be awful. The sweaty downward, let's move on. Let's just move on. So instead, I'd exercise by like walking more. I'm in the medical school, so there's a lot of open space to walk back and forth. So that helped. I would like go up to the 4th floor of the med school after I'm walking, and there's like a huge row of windows, so I just like stare out the windows after my walk, just pondering life's great mysteries, like horse jokes. But you kind of look dumb just staring out a window by yourself, so I'd usually do something like smoking. Though occasionally someone like the med school staff or faculty would come up to me and be like, excuse me, sir, what are you doing? Like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Okay. Because that was obviously a big thing. While I was going through my headache thing, apparently the whole other world had some other minor health problem. I think it was called a pandemic or something. So obviously, like right now, it's easy to get really frustrated about sort of some of the overhandedness or kind of policies that really didn't work. But I remember back when everything started, it was a little bit easier to give people some slack. Like no one knew anything. Like even the health professors, like I don't know what to do. Like I don't know what to do. Just go hard in no particular direction. Make something happen. So some of those you can take it lightly because you could, you knew I remember when things first started, like this is going to be different. Like something's going to be, it's going to be crazy when we start running out of toilet paper. Like really, like this is a first world country. Why are we running out of toilet paper? Though it was, if you took it lightly, you could have adventures, though. Every time you need to go out and find toilet paper, you could be like an archaeologist looking for lost gold. Indiana Jones in the porcelain temple of doom. Hunting up and down the aisles looking for it. Like, oh wait, maybe the toilet paper's in this aisle. Oh no, that's the paper towel aisle. That's fool's gold. Yeah, so, another policy that kind of, one of the policies that they instituted right away was, it's sort of a no-brainer, like better hygiene, like, oh, wash your hands, things like that. Like, that was never really controversial. It's like, oh, it makes sense, be clean, like, wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. That makes sense. Though I feel like, while the public restrooms really promoted that, they didn't do anything to help you with that. Because every public restroom's like a tiny sink with one of those hand motions that, like, you need to do, like, an arcane spell to make it work. Like, I want to wash my hands, I want to wash my hands. Like, what sort of witchcraft or witch doctor do I need to do this? Quick, call a pharmacist! It's like, well, it won't work. I guess this is my life now. I just have to stay in this bathroom. Hopefully, the next person who comes in to go to the bathroom will have snacks on them so I don't starve. Another thing, obviously that was a big policy, was the masking. And I was able to take it lightly early on. So that was good. Because, I remember they first came out, it was like at grocery stores or Walmart places, like, customers must wear masks. And that was sort of boring, but my brain translated that as customers must dress up like and pretend to be a ninja. Because that's what it felt like. You have a mask on, you're trying to avoid people, and if someone takes the last toilet paper, you kill them with a throwing star. So the most paradoxical health policy measure was the whole social distancing. Cause sort of paradoxical, like social but distancing. Like, I guess what that was supposed to mean, like, I like you, you like me, but like, let's stay away so we can be friends later or something. That's good as far as it goes. But I feel if they really wanted to, like, reduce spread, they should have been promoting anti-social distancing. Just like every time you go out the door, you just have to be like, that would have kept people 6 feet back. That would have kept people 60 feet back. That is what the phrase, would not touch that with a 16-foot pole, was made for. Yeah, so when everything was sort of locked down, it was sort of annoying, especially because I still had 2 kids I have to entertain. And if it's like too hot or too cold outside, I need to go somewhere. So I just go to a place that was still open, like a grocery store, like Walmart. Just go up and down the aisle with them. And that gave me a lot of time to, like, look at food and judge it. So here are some things I don't like about the modern food aisles. So first of all, let's start with the produce, or not the produce aisle, the things that eat produce aisle, the meat aisle. There we go. The whole insistence on, like, quality for, like, grass-fed beef. Like, why is it supposed to sound amazing? It's like, grass doesn't taste good. It's like, I would be a lot more intrigued by, like, corn-fed beef or biscuit-fed beef. Like, I would eat biscuit-fed beef, I'm not gonna lie. Another thing that annoys me is how expensive some things are. Like, if you've ever tried to buy naan bread, that's an Indian flatbread in the grocery store. It's like $6 for like 1 piece of bread, and you can make like 6 pieces of bread for like pennies at home. So I guess the one difference between homemade naan and store-bought naan bread is the store-bought is usually like neatly cylindrical or neatly circular. Whenever I make naan bread at home, it's always really like irregular. Sometimes people call me out on it, but I just go forward with confidence. Like, they're like, why is your naan bread weird shaped? It's like, it's not weird shaped, it's on purpose. Those are the continents. Oh, really? Which ones? Oh, this one's South America. I can convince you of that, right? Yeah, that's South America. What about that one over there? That one, huh? That one? Oh, that's drunk Australia. So another thing I don't like about food in the grocery store is how crazy Reese's has gotten. Like, it used to just be Reese's, then like Reese's Pieces, and then they like did all this other stuff. Like, there was like a new one they were promoting. It's like Reese's with pretzel inside. And I think pretzels are just like the worst snack food ever. It's like, Reese's, don't try to trick me into eating pretzels. I don't need that. Though I really drew the line where they had this new product. It was like Reese's with Reese's Pieces inside of it. I was like, you lost me at cannibalism, Reese's. You lost me. But far and away, the aisle that I have the most problem with is the cereal aisle. And I've ranted about this before, but you go into the modern cereal aisle and like every bad food you can think of is now a cereal. Like cookies, snack cakes, ice cream, they're all cereal. It's as if all like the cereal head company, whatever they call CEOs got together and they're like all collectively decided to just like give up on pretending that cereal was in any way healthy for you. Because that was the big lie for a while. It's like, cereal is a healthy part of this breakfast. It's like, not really. But I suppose maybe that lie sort of persisted so long because compared to some of its competition, cereal was pretty healthy. You got like waffles or pancakes. It's like, let's take a carb and then smother it in liquid sugar. And then maybe cut up some bananas on top. Just kidding, this is butter. Other things like bacon. It's like, well, let's take a pig and cook it in its own fat. How about that? And of course, the queen of like unhealthy breakfast foods is of course the donut, which is like carb, deep fry it, slather it in icing, and pump it full of cream. But like donuts are my great temptation. They're like my favorite breakfast food. They're especially Tim Hortons. They're just great. And you can tell how good a food product is when it comes to temptation, is if you can take scripture passages with the word Satan in it and replace it with that food product, and it doesn't change the meaning at all. Jesus Christ was driven by the Spirit into the desert for 40 days and nights to be tempted by Tim Hortons. Jesus said, "Get behind me, Tim Hortons! You're an obstacle to me." War broke out in heaven between Michael and his angels and Tim Hortons. But we can't really talk about breakfast and breakfast items without the best part of breakfast, which is of course coffee. Coffee. Yeah. Yep, there we go. And and of course like coffee has gotten super popular. There's all sorts of coffee shops everywhere nowadays, Bully Brew, Starbucks, Caribou, it's everywhere. But I don't think there's more people today that like coffee. I think there's just more people today that are pretending to like coffee. It's like you ask someone, it's like, "Oh, would you like some coffee?" He's like, "Oh, sure, I'll have a caramel macchiato." It's like, "Well, all I have is black coffee." It's like, "Well, then I don't actually like coffee. If it's not a caramel macchiato." I was like, "Maybe you just don't like coffee." So yeah, I'm a fan of just hot black coffee. My coffee of choice is of course Folgers. Yeah. Thanks for the solidarity there. Though I noticed who all the classy coffee drinkers were out there because your eyes involuntarily twitched when I said Folgers. Folgers! But I'm a fan of Folgers. So I don't really go to coffee shops very much because they don't really have too much to offer. And their coffee is pretty expensive. If I do want to have a real treat for coffee, I'll go to a gas station because I can get a giant mug for pennies. It's amazing. In fact, a couple months ago, it turns out Holiday gas stations had this promotion called Sip and Save, where you could spend $6 and get coffee every day for the month. I was like, that's great, so I signed up. And the lady was running me through. I was like, yep, just come in, type in your code, and you can get a cup of coffee each day. And if you get tired of coffee, you can get either soda or slushies. It's like, okay. That phrase you used, get tired of coffee. I don't know what that means. That has never happened to me. In fact, there are some physicists who believe that that would violate a fundamental law of reality. But I'll keep that in mind. Another great gas station thing was apparently in the month of October, Loaf and Jug has a free coffee Fridays. You just go in and get coffee. So I was really excited about this. Though this last Friday I was so busy I couldn't make it. And it still haunts me. Think about it at night. The one that got away. So as I was saying, there's not really a much reason for me to go to a modern coffee shop. Because I used to go because I could get like espresso, which was nice. But as you might have seen, I brought it. I actually have an espresso maker now, so I can make it at home. So there's no point. I just take some of my Folger coffee grounds and make espresso. And now all the classy coffee drinkers are having heart palpitations. So. But occasionally I do still go and order espresso just for a treat. But it's kind of funny because the baristas aren't really used to having people order just espresso. Like, yeah, can I get a double shot of espresso? They're like, are you sure? Like, is that all? You don't want like a half pound of sugar in there? I was like, no, I was just joking. Put a pump of hot sauce in there. You know, I'm feeling fancy baking too. I mean, but when I'm there, you know, the coffee shops are all sort of the same. You know, they have the... Get these children more coffee. or less coffee, whatever helps. But when you do go to a coffee shop, I don't even like, you know, they have all the fancy, you know, words like venti, grande, barista. I don't really like those words. I don't even like espresso, so I pronounce it like a good American. Expresso. like it's spelled X hyphen P-R-E-Z-Z-O. Espresso. So, because yeah, a lot of the modern coffee shops, no matter where you go, they all kind of look the same. You know, sort of the artsy, like the wooden chairs, the ambient pop music, and like the chalkboards. Like, it doesn't matter which brand it is, it's all the same. If I was going to make a coffee company, I'd like have it completely different, just be like stark white, and all you could get was black coffee. It'd be called Shut Up and Coffee. But let's talk about one more coffee topic. It's going to be decaf coffee. Yes, and now all the fancy coffee drinkers are trying to remember the words of exorcism. But decaf coffee has a place. I like to make nice coffee drinks for my wife in the evenings, and decaf is good, so she doesn't stay up all night. So she gets more sleep, and my daughter Felicity doesn't feel jealous. Like, that was my job, coffee. I was supposed to keep Mom up all night. So there we go. So when I'm not drinking coffee, which is a lot. In fact, like no man on his deathbed says, I should have drank more water in my life. When I'm not drinking coffee, I'm trying to read books, so that's good. Books are great. Of course, a very important set of books is going to be the Bible. You can say amen, that's fine. We're all friends here. Amen. It's especially important, like as Catholics, to read the Bible because it's God's word, but also because we're often accused of not knowing the Bible very well. So it's good to read the Bible. But then if you want to go a step further and get back at people and prank people, is a fun thing to do is make up additional books of the Bible. Because we're already blamed for doing that anyway, so might as well make it real. The easiest place to start is just make up minor prophet. A reading from the book of Jebediah. Yeah, and half of you are like, wait, isn't that an Old Testament prophet? Isn't it already there? So that's pretty easy. Another way to do this is, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of sections of the Bible where there's multiple books, like Kings 1 and Kings 2, Samuel 1, Samuel 2. You just add more of those, more sequels. Like Chronicles 3. This time it's personal. Letter to the Hebrews 2. Brew harder. And my personal favorite, the book of Revelation 2, Electric Boogaloo. So if you want to have some fun, make. Oh no, wait, there's more. Sorry. Speaking of the New Testament, the final way to make up books of the Bible is just, Paul wrote so many letters to different people. Just make up more places he wrote to. A reading from a letter of St. Paul to the Thespians. That sounds right. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Colosseum. Are you sure? Isn't that like a building? Whatever. The second letter of St. Paul to the Philippines. Okay, you're making my shame. I know for a fact that Paul only wrote one letter to the Philippines. So there you have it. Simple steps to make up books of the Bible. Oh wait, sorry, 1 second here. Okay. Wow, that was fast. Apparently making up books of the Bible incurs a little thing called excommunication. So don't make up books of the Bible. Okay? So next let's talk about a set of books that's possibly even more important than the Bible, J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Wait, hold on 1 second. Yes? Okay. Well, I mean, if you put it like that. Okay. Did you know that there's such a thing as double secret excommunication? So, Lord of the Rings, less important than the Bible. Okay, less important, but still very good. I love Lord of the Rings. Anything by J.R. Tolkien, more broadly, Middle-earth. And if you're not terribly familiar with Middle-earth, there are actually 4 levels to J.R. Tolkien readers. So level 0 below everything else is, I just watched the movies. That's not even part of it. Level 1 is, wow, the Hobbit movies were so bad. Maybe I should read the source material. That's level 1 is reading The Hobbit. It's a kid's book. It's very doable. Level 2 is, card-carrying J.R. Tolkien fan. Just read Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. Pretty straightforward. Level 3 is the Silmarillion, also known as, maybe you should consider finding more friends. Because the Silmarillion is sort of the history and lore and mythology of Middle-earth. It has a glossary, so you're in for it. In fact, J.R. Tolkien didn't actually publish it while he was alive. It was put together and published by his family after his death. And when you're reading it, you get the feeling that writing was his woodshed jokes. These jokes aren't for other people. These are just for me. But the Silmarillion is actually one of my favorite Tolkien books. And now, you might be thinking, wait, wouldn't the Silmarillion be the top level? No. Level 4 is every other Middle-earth writing, also known as getting tricked into doing Tolkien research. Because any of the other books, like the History of Middle-earth, Lost Tales, this is how they're set up. Here's an early draft of a story and a bunch of commentary. Here's a slightly different version of that draft and a bunch of commentary. It's you get through it I should publish a research paper to get back my time. It's just, so if you slog through it like I have for a couple though, there is some really interesting things you can find in there. For example, the great enemy in The Lord of the Rings, Sauron, who's usually depicted as a giant tower with an eye on it, or a hulking armored figure. In one of the early drafts of that character, he was depicted as, I kid you not, a giant cat. That would have made the movies a little bit different. One catnip to rule them all. One laser pointer to find them. One kitty litter to bring them all. And in the darkness, bind them. So that's Lord of the Rings for you. Though unfortunately I don't get to read as much large books anymore because I have children now. And so, especially, I'm at work all day, and my wife is taking care of the kids. So when I come home, I try to read to them. And one of the overwhelming things I read is ABC books, because there are ABC books for everything now. Just any sort of topic you want, there's an ABC book for it. An ABC book for Lord of the Rings, I'm sure, or extra books of the Bible. I'm sure there's an ABC. So it's sort of crazy how many different kinds. I feel like if I was an ABC book publisher, I'd get worried that I was going to run out of material. Like, oh shoot, we're going to run out of material and there'll only be the bad stuff left, like the ABCs of messy diseases. A is for aortic aneurysm. B is for botulism. C is for Crohn's disease. I'm done with this one. The kids don't even want snack time anymore. But I feel like one thing you could do, though, if you're a book publisher, to get more ABC books published, is just to have celebrities do ABC books. They do that for other types of books. Why not ABC books? You could have movie stars do ones. Athletes. You can have politicians do it. You could have C be for Kafifi. Or come on, man, depending on your political persuasion. Though the celebrity ABC book I am waiting for is the one by Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's 26 Letters for Life. A is for arthropod. Gotta stand up straight like a lobster. B is for bear responsibility for your actions. C is for clean your bloody room. D is for don't be a postmodern Marxist ideologue or you'll send us all to the gulags. E is for excuse me, but have you cleaned your bloody room yet? But all that aside, the real problem with ABC books, the real stressed out pink elephant in the room, as it were, is of course the letter X. There are very few words that start with X, X-ray or whatnot, and you just have to otherwise mangle the English language to fit anything there. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's the entire reason the musical instrument xylophone was named that. It's like there's a percussion conference. And they're like, we have this nice new instrument, has bars and mallets. What should we call it? There's a guy in the back with a book under his arm. What about xylophone? It's a pretty weird name. Why xylophone? I don't know. It just sounds good. It could be followed by yo-yo and zebra. So I either think we need to, make up more X words, like maybe espresso. Or maybe just collectively get rid of the end of the ABCs. Because even Z's hard. Just all decide to stop at W. U is for univariate. V is for voluptuous. W is for winsome, and that's it. That's all there is. But I guess if I was really desperate as an ABC book publisher, I would just take a random group of words and phrases, just put them all in the book, and just see how long it would take parents to realize they've been had. D is for dromedary. E is for easel. F is for forensic. G is for going hard in no particular, come on! And with that, thank you very much. There we go.
Yeah.